So today we have paramedic Ben Fisher in the studio with us. Ben, we'd like to welcome you here.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, so he's here to show us some of the first aid skills that every parent should know. So we've been talking about some heavy topics like losing kids, and another way that sometimes parents end up losing children, unfortunately, is through, household accidents or any kind of situation, really.
Definitely.
Yeah, so what actually inspired you to start this business?
My wife actually is also an experienced paramedic and a nurse, and she got to the point where she'd go to jobs in the ambulance to people's homes, and there are parents that in the 5 minutes between calling the ambulance and the ambulance turning up, they could have actually initiated something to save their child, and they were either untrained or too nervous to, and then we have some sort of tragic outcome. So the idea was to get out and explain to parents just simply some good tactics and strategies to help their child before the ambulance turns up.
What are the common scenarios?
Commonly with small children, it's falls and bumps and head knocks after falling off the change table, stuff like that. Choking in babies is a common one, and burns. So anything that, it happens all day, every day somewhere in Australia, a child or a baby has an accident. Accidents happen, and we're just trying to get people ready for those accidents in the home.
I think as a normal non-medical person, I usually just feel like that's the medical professional's job to do, and actually feel ill-equipped and feel like actually intimidated to think about, I could have done something in the 5 minutes before you arrive. I think everyone's taught just to call 000 and just wait for the medical professional to come along. But you're saying that there are things that we can do to help, within those 5 minutes. Are those critical? Is it really critical in those 5 minutes?
Yes, I think when you're dealing with something like CPR or choking, you really need to act immediately, and acting within that first minute is likely to have a good outcome and save a life, as opposed to waiting the 5 minutes where things might be too late.
Now, you've got an interesting wee thing on your knee there.
Do you carry this around all the time?
Well, he's getting bigger and bigger. This is Elvis, because Elvis Elvis has an electric pelvis, which we use for training. This is Elvis, and Elvis is a roughly a 3-month-old baby, and we use this to explain to parents how to do really good, effective CPR and how to manage choking.
Well, can we show us how Elvis works?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, as I said, Elvis is designed to replicate a 3-month-old baby. The idea of Elvis having the electric pelvis there is that when we get parents to press down on the chest and at the right rate, I'll get 2 green dots.
So is that for CPR? Is that a CPR
that's for
technique?
CPR training.
Can you show us?
Is it as hard as they say?
Because it's really scary doing this.
It is scary, and really the thing about what we teach is that we know parents are terrified. We know mums and dads are scared of hurting their baby. And so people know what to do. They know they have to press up and down on the chest, but parents get very scared about pressing down hard enough because they think they'll damage their bub. And what we really push, the message that we push really is that you have to press hard. And that's against the instincts of us as parents,
Yeah. Can we see an example?
Yeah, sure. So normally if we do CPR, we do it on the floor, but I'll just do it on my lap here. And so basically, when we've got a child this small, we can use 2 fingers or a whole hand in the middle of the chest, and we need to press down nice and hard.
Yeah, that is hard.
Because what we're doing is we're actually squeezing the heart under the chest. If we do it really gently, like this is what we aren't going to squeeze the heart.
Is this what people typically teach?
This is what parents learn. Well, if we turn up and parents are doing CPR on a baby, they're typically going 1, 2, doing really gentle compressions.
Because you're watching in the movies, that's what they do, and then you're like, oh, their rib cage, their poor rib cage.
Sure. So what you need to do is weigh up your options. If I do hard CPR and I squeeze the heart, I'm going to get blood and oxygen to the brain. So the child has a good chance of recovering. If I don't do that, then I'm not going to get a good result. So the worst thing I can do when I do hard CPR is maybe damage the rib, maybe get a broken rib.
But normally the bones are that soft that...
Look, the chances of breaking a baby's rib are almost next to none, but even if you did, that's why I've got a live child with a sore rib as opposed to a child that hasn't survived.
So it's good to understand that we're actually pumping the heart. Is that what you said?
This compressing the chest is simulating, because the heart's stopped in the chest. So every time we press down, we squeeze the heart, and that pumps the blood around and gets the oxygen to the head.
So would you do this sort of thing, is it after a drowning? Because I can't imagine you would be doing this on a young child. Like, what are the reasons for doing this?
The main reasons that we ever do CPR on children, typically if we do CPR on adult, it's because, they've got a diseased heart. If children's heart stopped, it's because they've got no oxygen going to, so they've either drowned or they've choked or they've smothered.
Can we get someone to try? Like,
Yeah,
one
for
of the
sure.
ladies want to try?
I'll have a crack.
Rachel, you've got
I'll have a crack. I didn't mean to say that.
You're going to crack a rib, are you, darling?
So sometimes when we
2 hands, one?
well, it depends on the age of the baby. Under one, we teach that we use 2 fingers on the centre of the chest. So I'll get you to just use 2 fingers.
Right there.
Have you got some buttons?
Away you go, and you want to get 2 green dots on Elvis's
okay.
electric pelvis.
Oh.
So the green dots tell us that we're doing it correctly?
2 green dots. You want to go a bit faster. That's it. So we do it at
So
about
it's this
100.
fast. Because babies'
That's
hearts
hard,
beat,
isn't it?
Babies' hearts beat quite quickly,
That's right.
Yeah.
How long do you have to do this for?
You have to do it till the ambulance gets there.
Yeah, that's
wow.
hard. That
Do you
is hard
switch
work.
off with people sometimes? Like if...
Well, if they're doing good CPR, I might actually keep them doing it while I get
Okay.
everything set up.
All right.
Poor Elvis.
The hard thing about doing 2 fingers on the centre of the chest is it gets very hard to do that. And if you're a little person, you might find that you're not going deep enough. So
Yeah.
in the real world, I always say, look, it's okay to use a whole hand.
Yeah.
Melody, would you like to try? Or actually, I think you had another technique you wanted to teach us about, which was about choking, because that's another very common
Well, that's-
scenario that happens. I love how you're passing the baby gingerly.
So again, you might get a bit of a shock with this. So choking, when someone's completely choking, this is a life-threatening event, and the child will lose consciousness in less than a minute, and they're then at risk. So we need to act immediately. We can't wait for the ambulance to get there. When we've got a baby this sort of age...
Do you try to fish it out of their mouth, or you start with this technique?
Well, quite often we assume that things we can see what they're choking on. The reality is that kids often don't choke on a big thing. They choke on little things like a button or a lolly.
Or a grape.
Or a battery?
Or a battery. So these things go right down behind into their voice box, and we can't see, and we can't fish these things out.
Okay.
So typically, when the child is choking, they're blue, they're silent, and what I'll often do is, or what I train people to do, is put the baby's chest on your knee, right? Their mouth's clear, and I'm going to give them a good whack. And so this is how hard we'll actually do it. 1,
Oh, wow.
3.
That seems abusive.
It does, doesn't it?
Melody's face.
Can Melody give it a try, perhaps?
And this is the thing, when I train mums and dads, they all have what Melody's face just showed.
It's quite
I can't
scary.
hit my child that hard. But
Yep.
the reality is, you need to hit them that hard. That compresses the air in the lung,
Try, Melody?
and it pops the thing out of their chest.
Otherwise, it's the difference between a bruised baby and a dead baby, isn't it?
Again, when we weigh it up, I've got a live child with a red hand mark on their back. That's the worst damage I can cause them, or a dead child. And I know that sounds gruesome, but
that's the reality.
That's a choice you have to make.
What's Melody's technique like? How would you...
Yeah, that's pretty good. I try and spread the hand across the whole back of the chest, and a nice smack.
Is it...
Pass it here.
Shona wants to give it a try.
I had a mum who I was teaching.
I'm an old mum.
I had a mum. I was teaching her the other day, and she was telling me a story that her 3-year-old was eating a red frog lolly. He started choking on it, and she grabbed him and she turned him upside down and she belted him 3 times, and the red lolly came flying across the room, and he jumped up, went over, picked up the lolly, ate it again.
And chopped again.
And I didn't choke again, but then he ran to Dad and said, "Mum just smacked me." So that was a funny story. But anyway, give Elvis
I was going to say,
good
you've got
smack.
something else to show us before I give him a good smack.
You know what? I think we've smacked the baby enough. I might just hold this baby here. Poor baby's been through a lot. I thank you for how you're empowering people, empowering parents to be able to take care of their children. And I know that I need to take a CPR class and take a first aid class so I can feel more empowered to
We'd
be
love
able
to see you.
Yeah.
So is there somewhere we can find you, look you up?
Yeah, I think at kidsfirstaid.com.au, and we come to your house. We can come to groups, community groups and church groups, and we do nationwide shows on the weekend, expositions on the weekend in all the cities. So just go to our website. And you'll be
Thank
able
you
to-
so much, Ben. We really appreciate you being here for us today. You know, we've learned so much today, and I've learned so much from you ladies, from Ben, and thank you so much for your great conversation. And I'm looking forward to learning more about CPR, learning more about all of the topics that we talked about today. Thanks for joining us here today at the table, and we'll see you next time, and see you on social media as well, and God bless.
My hand hurts. Yeah.